Sounds good.
Here we go. Hey, everybody. Just a few tech issues while we're getting started. Nothing like it. I'm going to go ahead and let Laura just take the mic and take control here while I try and recalibrate my situation. But we are recording this session and we will post it to our YouTube channel. And we're so happy that you're here tonight. Really appreciate your time. And then we'll also send you a feedback survey at the end of the session so that you can, tell us how we did and tell us what else we can provide to help you grow in your entrepreneurial journey. So take it away, Laura.
All right, awesome. So thank you all so much for having me. I see we've got a couple people here. So as I go through my presentation, if you have questions, you can drop those in the chat and I will address them probably at the end, but definitely feel free to ask. So I am excited to be here talking with you today. My name is Laura Briggs. I have been freelancing since 2012. I've worked with hundreds of clients since that point in time, and being a freelancer was instrumental in me following my husband around the country for his career in the Navy. And so we have finally settled in Springfield, Illinois. That is a picture of the duck that came with my house when we moved here to Springfield. And many people are more interested in him than me, and I'm fine with that because he's pretty cool. So I do a lot of freelance writing projects, digital marketing, and project management. As part of that sort of a lot of doors have opened because of freelancing. So I have written 5 books. Some of them are featured here on the screen. How to Start Your Own Freelance Writing Business and the Six-Figure Freelancer are already out, as well as a book about how to become a virtual assistant. And then Remote Work for Military Spouses coming out in August. And my content copywriting book will come out next year. I have a weekly podcast. It's got almost 200 episodes of free content. If you are a freelancer and you're looking for tips on specific things, there's so many things in the podcast. So I now kind of have a split business. I still do work for freelance clients, but I also help freelancers through coaching, courses, my books, and podcasts. So I want to talk a little bit about this whole idea of scaling your business. Like, a really common goal for a lot of freelancers once they've gotten started and have some established clients and some experience is how to hit that 6-figure mark. I think it's just such a catchy thing to think about. How do I make 100K? A lot of times when you think about, well, what would be a livable wage for me to pay myself after I cover my self-employment taxes and potentially cover things like health insurance as a full-time freelancer, 6 figures is a really good mark to aim for because we do want to have that extra cushion as self-employed entrepreneurs. We don't get some of those same benefits that you would get as an employee. So MBO Partners has done some research on how freelancing is kind of changing the workforce. And there's a lot of other studies out there as well. But 1 in 5 freelancers who are doing this full time are already making 6 figures with their business. I hit the 6-figure mark about 18 months into my business, and my company has been a 6-figure or multiple 6-figure business every year since. And so that's part of why I've turned around and started to teach a lot of the mistakes that I made and things that I have learned. And I think this number is going to go up just because of how many freelancers I'm working with who have come to me and have scaled quickly. They've been in business 3 months, 6 months. I've had people just out of college that are on track for 6 figures, within a year after graduating. And the pandemic, of course, has really accelerated a lot of people jumping into freelancing, which means we have more freelancers, and I think we'll see more who are really scaling their businesses successfully. But as a freelance entrepreneur, you're really doing everything by yourself. You're the VP of every department: marketing, sales, accounting, client management, everything. And that can be kind of hard to scale your business. So I'm going to walk you through some things to help you figure out what areas of your business you might need to focus on in order to scale your company, even if you're a solopreneur. I'm going to walk you through a section of a tool that I've developed called the Six-Figure Freelancer Scorecard. And it focuses on 5 different sections of your business. And you're going to score yourself, on a piece of paper, just kind of mentally as you go. At the end of this presentation, I'll give you a link to download the Google Doc of the full Six-Figure Freelancer Scorecard if you want to take that and then kind of reflect back on those results and realize which of the areas you might need to focus on. So we're just going to kind of do it in an interactive way. I'll tell you exactly how to score yourself as we go. And then I'm going to give you some actual systems and client management tips that will apply regardless of where you're at in your business, some best practices that have really helped me grow my business. Now I work about 20 to 25 hours a week. And so a lot of times what happens with freelancers is they get really busy, they get overwhelmed, overworked, they're logging 50, 60 hours a week. And their goal changes even from just making six figures to how do I do this and not burn myself out? How do I do this in a sustainable way where I like my business and I don't feel like I'm sitting in front of the computer all the time? So I'm going to share with you some of my best tips. So I love developing tools and visuals and things like that for my audience. And when I wrote my book, Six-Figure Freelancer, I interviewed 20 other six-figure freelancers to figure out what do they all have in common? What are the mindset things that they all do? What are the business practices? How do they decide which clients to work with? How do they decide when to fire a client and how to do that? And I came up with these different steps that are really the ideal way for you to scale your freelance business. So it really starts with figuring out where you're at, then tapping into your mindset, deciding if you're going to go solo or agency model, looking at your clients, then going into marketing, systems, finances. Shameless plug, these are pretty much the exact chapters in the book, Six-Figure Freelancer. It's broken down very similarly in this way. So that might be helpful if that's a resource that you wanted to check out later, or if there's something specific where you're like, oh yes, I need help with systems. I very much believe in this methodology of addressing things in this way. And that way your business is really something that's enjoyable and it's aligned with what you want. Because I think for a lot of freelancers, you know, I work with all kinds of freelancers and they'll come to me and they'll have completely different end goals. So one person might be, I need to make $10,000 months to support my family financially. Another might be someone who is caregiving for elderly parents or a new parent themselves. And they say, I have 10 hours a week. Help me figure out how to make the best business I can in 10 hours a week. The same principles will apply. You'll just look at them in different ways depending on what you want. So what do six-figure freelancers have in common? I found a couple of things across the board, even people doing different types of freelancing. So there's all different ways to freelance right now. I would say the biggest categories that I see in the market are writers, IT, project managers, web developers, web designers, virtual assistants, online business managers, social media managers, voiceover artists, podcast producers. There's so many different types out there. But a lot of them who are running their business at a really high level have mindset, marketing, income and finances, client management and systems, and expansion plans. And so that might look different from one business to another, but they are thinking about their business in this way and really wearing all those different hats of the different vice president roles that I talked about you playing earlier. So we're going to do sort of this shortened version of my six-figure freelancer scorecard. Just keep track mentally. You're going to score yourself 1 to 5 with the statements that I make. 1 is, I don't do this at all, or this statement does not describe my current business at all. And 5 is, yep, this is exactly accurate with where I am at in my business right now. So maximum score of 5. Most people are somewhere along the spectrum. And so let's start with mindset, which is the first kind of core of what freelancers have in common. So there's kind of a possible high score here of 15 points. And so I have at least one non-work, non-monetized hobby, something you're not trying to turn into a business, something you do just for fun. Crafting, I mean, mine is tap dancing. It might be reading books. It might be hiking, whatever it might be. You have at least one thing that is not just about your business or about work. The second place to score yourself is I track my hours every week and I have a cap on how much I work and I almost always stay under it. So remember, 5 is, yep, I got this. I track my hours. I'm always at or under my cap. And 1 is, nope, I don't even know how much I'm working. And that's okay, because I think we've all been there before. And then the last one is, I would not describe my day-to-day in my freelance business as frenzied or overwhelmed. I hear those words a lot from freelancers who have taken on too much work, or they've taken on too much work from the wrong clients. So if you're nailing it on mindset and happiness, you might have scored 15 out of 15 here. The purpose of this is when you take the full scorecard, your attention is going to be drawn to 1 or 2 areas where you scored the lowest. And that's really going to help direct you to, what do I need to focus on in my business next in order to scale it effectively? And this is all built on what the best practices are, what I see commonly across the board with happy, sustainable revenue growth freelancers out there in the market today. All right, so let's move on and let's talk a little bit about some of these mindset concepts. So mindset is a tricky subject. Even for me, when I first heard it, I was like, I don't need that as a business owner. I need strategy. I need systems. Mindset is not an issue. Like whatever, I just need to show up and do the work. But successful six-figure freelancers realize that mindset is important. I argued with my publisher to make mindset chapter 2 in Six-Figure Freelancer because, as I told them, I said, none of the other chapters will work if the person doesn't have the right mindset. They'll just be really frustrated and throwing spaghetti at the wall. So mindset work can include things like exercise. It's stuff you're doing that's not necessarily related to work, although sometimes you end up thinking about work, or in the case of journaling, you might end up thinking about it. So you have mindful habits, you get massages, you get your nails done, you take time off from your business, you do journaling, you do morning pages if you're a writer, maybe you listen to uplifting podcasts, or you read different books. Now, successful six-figure freelancers and scaling freelancers know that they're getting their mindset straight is almost more important than the work, because one of the things that mindset work unlocked for me is that if you have some deep-seated beliefs about you or your work or what work should look like and things like that, it will show up in how you market and deliver to clients. So perhaps the reason that you keep attracting red flag clients is because there's something off in the mindset where you're going, ooh, work has to be really, really hard for me. And so this is just natural. It's really difficult to work with my clients. Or maybe you don't feel worthy of what you charge. And so you get ready to quote a client and you're like, $1,000 for this project. Yeah, I feel good at 1,000. But before you even send it, you knock your price down to $750 because those kinds of things are mindset issues, right? That's all internal. That's not necessarily a client making you do that, right? So the other thing I see among six-figure and scaling freelancers who are successful is they never get attached to the outcome of any one thing. And if you spend a lot of time with beginner freelancers, this is a big deal. I see this all the time in Facebook groups for freelancers. Upwork is dead. Freelancing is dead. SEO is dead. This isn't working. I had a successful sales call and it didn't turn into a client. At the beginning of your business, it's really easy to take that personally, but successful freelancers know that no one client, job, proposal, pitch, sales call defines them. If I have a call and the client doesn't pick me, on to the next. If there's something I can learn from it, awesome. And I'll file that away for the future. But there are lots and lots of clients out there. There's lots of projects out there. So even if you bomb a sales call, that does not mean you are a failure or your business is a failure. I see a lot of really resilient freelancers that just kind of pick themselves up and go, that wasn't a good sales call. All right, I could have spent 10 minutes more preparing, and they'll just build that into their process going forward. Another subtle but really important difference is how you show up when you are talking to clients. The more confident you are, the less you sound desperate on the call. So this sounds crazy, but pretty much every call I do with a prospective client, I show up interested and I pay attention and I take great notes. But my goal is to project that I don't need them. I don't need them in my business because I can always find another client, and I want to make a good impression, but I don't want to come off as though, hey, I'll do anything to get your business. I really need you on my books this month to hit my revenue goals. Clients respond to this. They will match confidence with confidence. So if you come in confident, not desperate, and you quote a high rate, they are more likely to accept it because you showed up on that call and they feel lucky to be working with you, not the other way around. So let's go into marketing. Again, there's 3 statements here. 5 is, this describes me perfectly. 1 is, this doesn't describe me at all. And of course, you can give yourself any number in between there. So the first is I spend a few hours every week marketing, even when I'm fully booked. And that second half is important. The second one is I have at least 2 marketing methods and a backup. So like LinkedIn is a marketing method. Upwork is a marketing method. Word of mouth is a marketing method. Being listed in a local directory, marketing method. So you should have at least 2. The reason for that is because it's very dangerous to put all your eggs in one basket. And a lot of freelancers do this. And then their pipeline dries up, or that system doesn't work anymore. And all of a sudden their business crashes. And then finally, my sales calls and proposals nearly always lead to booked business. So the opposite of that is you're doing a lot of pitching, you're doing a lot of sales calls, you're writing proposals, but you can't figure out why they're not working. I just had someone book a coaching call today, and that was what she put in her booking form. She's like, I'm sending tons of proposals and I cannot figure out why no one ever gets back to me. So that's a clue for you to dig into your marketing process and say, there's something wrong with my pitch, there's something wrong with my proposal, or there's something wrong with the way I'm doing these calls. I may not even be pitching the right clients. What can I figure out about how to fix it? So again, maximum score of 15 if you got all of these, and it's a regular thing you would use to describe your business. So successful freelancers who are scaling their business, they market all the time, even when they're fully booked. That's the one I get the most pushback on. I'm fully booked a lot of the time. I still continue to market my business, even though it's not as aggressive. So I might not be on the job boards every day. I won't be sending cold pitches every day, but I'm updating content on LinkedIn, or I'm letting my current clients know if they ever have a great referral for me that I'm open to that. So marketing all the time gives you a place to reach out if you need to fire a client or if a client fires you. A lot of freelancers are in the feast and famine cycle where they market, they get really busy, and then that lasts for a couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden those projects are done, the invoices are paid, and you have no work. That's because you haven't been marketing during that time. Clients can take anywhere from like a day to 6 months to decide to work with you. So it's always good to have warm leads in your pipeline. It's far easier to have a wait list or to say, hey, I'm about to sign a contract with a great client. I'm going to let go of this client that will not negotiate to my higher rate. So it gives you choices. And then these freelancers also make no excuses about finding the marketing with the highest conversions. If you are spending a ton of your time doing a certain marketing method and it doesn't lead to results, try to figure out why that is, or dump it. Don't just keep doing it and getting frustrated that, well, I'm on LinkedIn and that's not leading to results. Okay, maybe LinkedIn isn't the channel for you, or maybe you're not using it properly. But successful freelancers are busy. I like to say when you start your freelance business, you spend 20% of your time on actual client projects and 80% marketing. And over time, your goal is to flip those. And so you shouldn't be spending a ton of time marketing as an established freelancer, but it does need to be something that's part of your ongoing process. And so I look for the places where I know I have the highest chance of getting a conversion of a client. I'm not like, I discovered early on, and in 10 years, I had never landed a freelance client from Twitter. So that gave me permission to delete my Twitter account because it was not doing anything for me. But I also know that if I need more business, I'm going to go to LinkedIn and I'm going to go to Upwork and I'm going to go to my past clients because those are the ones that convert the best for me. So successful freelancers lean into what works and they dump everything else. So you get really specific about what you do and who you are providing that service. So 80% of my clients are law firms. Most of them are in personal injury, estate planning, family law, criminal law. That means I can really tailor my marketing into that specific niche so that my ideal clients always feel as though I am talking directly to them in my marketing. So your messaging should fully match your clientele. Your clients are not everyone. Even if you are a generalist, like even within like the world of writing, you may be a generalist. Maybe you write copy for all kinds of websites, but you only do website copy, or you do website and social media or something like that. So lean into what works and make sure that you're speaking specifically to that audience and the questions and concerns that they have. Successful freelancers also never put all their eggs in one basket. They always have more than one source of clients, and they also never have just one client. I can tell you some real horror stories about coaching clients who have come to me when they have lost their only client. I had one coaching client who had an $11,000 a month retainer that was in place for 16 months, and suddenly the entire startup folded and her entire income was gone overnight. Now, even if she only had time to take on one or two other smaller projects during that time, her income wouldn't have gone to zero by losing that main client. And the same goes for putting all of your eggs in one basket for getting business too. So if you're good with marketing, you should be able to easily pivot if your referrals dried up overnight, if Upwork banned you from their platform, or if LinkedIn just stopped working for you. You should always be able to say, okay, that's disappointing, but I've got other things I can lean into because I didn't put all my eggs in one basket. Okay, so income and finances. Same thing, 1 to 5 here. So 5 is, yes, this describes me. So I would not describe my company as coping in a feast and then famine cycle. So sorry, that should say, the big should be inside the parentheses. So feast is fully booked. You're buried in work. You're barely making your deadlines. Famine is, I don't have enough clients. I have weeks where I bring in nothing. There's times where it's just an absolute dead zone and it's really stressful for you financially. So you would not describe your company. That's a good thing. We don't want to describe our company as that. The second one is I make enough money to pay my bills, pay my expenses, and pay myself every month. Freelancers generally run really low expense businesses because we don't need an office space. We don't need employees. We don't need a lot of working capital to get things started, but you do want to make enough that you can pay your bills, set aside money for taxes, and be able to still pay yourself a living wage. And finally, my income is steady each month, or it's slowly increasing based on my efforts. So the opposite, of course, is it's going down, or you have a $5,000 month and then you have a $1,000 month. And it's just kind of like, you can't really predict your income or your cash flow. So you could have gotten a possible score of 15 there. And again, the goal here is to figure out, where am I seeing my lowest scores? That's maybe where I need to put my attention on my business before trying to scale it. So successful freelancers have a system and they set goals. One of the things that kept me accountable in the first year of my freelance business was having a monthly goal. I was working a full-time job. I stayed in that full-time job for 13 months before deciding to jump ship, mostly because I didn't know if freelancing was seasonal or if I could consistently do this for a year. But every month I had a goal, and I had this running legal pad where I would write down, okay, today I got a client for $200. How far am I from my goal for June? And constantly returning to that to keep me accountable and make sure that I was marketing enough. Today, it's a spreadsheet that I call my monthly recurring clients. Most of my clients are on retainer, and I leave room for one-off clients and one-time projects in there. But I'm constantly going to that and saying, am I on track? Is that matching what's happening in accounting? If not, what do I need to be doing differently? And how much more marketing do I need to do? So they analyze their income and expenses monthly. It's something you should be in touch with, what's coming in, what's going out. This way you see problems before they happen. You see problems before you file your yearly taxes and things like that. And you match your income goals to the kind of business you want. Maybe you don't need to make $100,000. Maybe you would be fine with $60,000 or $20,000 because your freelancing is a side hustle. So align your business with what you really want. Right now, at this stage in my business, I do have financial goals, but it's more about matching that with the hours I'm working and how's my energy level? How do I feel about the projects I'm working on? Are they lighting me up, or does it feel like drudgery? And then successful freelancers also have money set aside for bigger investments. If they're going to build a website, if they need to hire a coach to help them with sales calls or proposals or pitches, or just hiring a virtual assistant for their business. So they're not desperate financially. They kind of have some plans, and they're in touch with their money. And of course, when it comes to your income, you have to have that good mindset in place so that you don't underprice or oversell yourself with clients. So you should know your value, and you should be comfortable asking for it. It shouldn't be something where you self-negotiate out of getting paid what you deserve, or you haven't raised your rates in 3 years because you're just scared to tell your current clients. So you should know your value and feel comfortable asking for it. And you don't position yourselves as, I can do it all. This might seem like something clients actually want, but in my experience, this tends to bring in clients who are overbearing, who engage in what's known as scope creep, where you agree to a certain set of deliverables, and then they keep adding more and more and more, and you're not getting paid more, and you never negotiated to do these things. And so positioning yourself as a Jack or Jill of all trades can really backfire, because then the clients expect a lot. And it also means it's hard for you to keep up with all the trends in every industry, right? So with most of my clients being in legal, It's my job to keep up with trends in legal marketing. I don't also have to keep up with trends in CBD marketing or the pet industry or whatever, because that's not my area of specialty. And I'll tell my clients that upfront too. All right, so next quiz is client management. So at least 90% of the clients on your current roster should be ideal clients for you. This means you feel good about working with them, you're getting paid well, you enjoy talking to them. Some signs that you don't have ideal clients are you dread when you see their name in your email inbox, you hate going to a call with them, you brace yourself for revisions because you just know it's going to make you mad to see them. Maybe the client's really disorganized and that drives you crazy. So it's you'd score yourself a 5 if at least 90% of the clients you're working with, either currently or on a regular, like month to month, you would say most of your clients sort of fit that ideal client. I rarely have issues like poor feedback, vague clients where I can't figure out what they want, overbearing clients, or scope creep. So you're rarely dealing with the client who's, pushing back on you and saying, oh, well, we agreed to 20 social media posts per month, but I don't feel like it's so much to ask for 3 extra ones. Why can't you just do it? If that is happening, you're curbing it quickly, right? That's sort of a best practice. And then finally, I meet my deadlines and keep track of all of my projects seamlessly. You never drop the ball. When someone gives you an assignment, it is written down somewhere, whether that's your project management tool or a notebook or a Google Doc, and you keep track of it and you kind of match your schedule to, okay, this is what I have on tap this week or today, and here's how I'm going to tackle it. So if all of these things described you perfectly, that's a 15. If you got a lower score, that might tell you, hey, there's something in the area of client management that I need to visit. Maybe I don't have the right clients. Maybe that's where I need to put my focus right now. So successful scaling freelancers, they know their value and they position themselves with it. So they don't accept calls with tire kickers. I've seen freelancers say, my minimum project size is $500. Does that meet with your budget for marketing right now? And okay, if that person has a budget of $100, we've just saved ourselves a phone call. I once had my shortest sales call ever was 6 minutes. It was with a lead from LinkedIn who wanted me to write an 80,000 word memoir for him for $6,000. And I just stopped it as soon as I heard the budget. And I said, I respect that that's your budget. It is not something I can work with, or any ghostwriter that I know can work with. And so you try not to even let those people get on your schedule, but if something comes up like that, you cut it off pretty quickly and kind of protect your boundaries. If you do a test project or a sample project with someone and it goes poorly, you're comfortable as a solid freelancer to say, this isn't a fit for me. That's what test projects are for. I use them all the time. Best case scenario, the client loves you. You love the client. They pay their bills. We're all set up. You know the guidelines now and you can continue to work with them. But it's not necessarily a bad scenario if you learn from that sample project that the client is a nightmare. I had one test project where it was like a 500-word blog post. The person left 32 editing suggestions and comments in Google Docs. And just from that alone, I was like, we are not a fit. There is no reason that anything that short should ever need that many edits. And I can tell this is not going to be a good fit for me and my business. So that saved me the experience of working with that client. And you probably have a client or monthly minimum. If you charge, let's say you're a graphic designer and you charge $100 for a logo, you have to do a lot of work to earn that $100. You have to learn the client's branding guidelines. You have to talk to them. You have to look at samples of things they do or don't like. You have to download their color palette. You have to brainstorm. That is a lot of upfront work for you to make $100. And don't forget, some of that money goes to Uncle Sam. Some of it might go back into our business for business expenses. So you have a client minimum where you know it is worth it to you. Whatever that number is for you, it's different for different freelancers, but you might say, my client minimum is $500. That pays me for the research, the kickoff call, getting to learn this client and their specifications, and you feel comfortable saying that, sticking with it. And then when you're doing your marketing, you should seek ideal clients only. You should look for those kind of clients who match your ideal client avatar. An ideal client avatar is something that you can develop. I have podcast episodes on this, and there's a really good worksheet that comes with Six-Figure Freelancer that helps you do this. I have used my longest freelance client as my ideal client avatar for a long time. I've worked with him on retainer for 9 years. We've been on the phone a total of 3 times. He's super easy to work with, and he has never had an edit request or been late on payment. And so for me, when I'm on a sales call, I'm listening. Are you easy to work with? Are you treating me respectfully? Do you have a payment system set up or have an accounting department that can handle that quickly? I'm looking for those things to figure out if this is an ideal client for me. And successful freelancers double down on their top sellers and things they love the most. This is important that you think about both, because maybe something is selling really well for you, but you don't love doing it. And that can really be a drag on your energy and the way you show up with it. So you might figure out, what are the things that you like to focus on? It could be a couple, but it's not all the things. You might even say within social media management, I create editorial calendars, or I focus only on Instagram, or something like that, where you feel comfortable that you're doubling down on something that there's demand for, but it's also something you really enjoy doing. And bonus points, not everybody has to have a niche. I do believe that it makes it a lot easier to run your business if you niche. And you can niche in 2 ways. And you can niche by industry, you can niche by type of project, or you can niche by both, right? So most of my projects are website content and blogs for lawyers. That doesn't describe my whole business, but it makes it so easy because I have a system for research, for writing, for editing, for picking keywords, for revisions. And so my work goes a lot faster when I focus on the things that tend to sell the most. So you, as a successful freelancer, you also need to recognize some client red flags and feel comfortable with not taking on those kinds of projects. So for me, net 60 payment, like we live in 2022, there is no reason that anyone needs to pay you by check or wait 60 to 90 days to issue you a payment. That's absolutely insane. There's just too many tools. There's too many easy ways to issue you payment. That just doesn't need to happen. And honestly, if you're like me, you'll forget you even did the project. And that's happened before with one of my clients that I forgot to send an invoice to. I'm like, did I even send this? Like, I know I finished the project, and then you have to send an awkward email. It's an administrative headache. So anything where payment just seems too difficult, you let it go and you kind of walk away. So for me, multiple phone calls, check in, you want to add me to your Slack channel for a small project. Like, as a freelancer, you may be the only freelancer your client is working with, but you have multiple clients. And so you have to run your business as though you're not fully dedicated to that one client. And sometimes clients don't realize that those things are a real headache for us. I am not going to sign into 6 different Slack channels every day, much less respond to every message that comes into me. So I look for low maintenance clients because that's a red flag for me. Personality clash is another one. I want someone who's going to be respectful, who values my opinion, who values my time. They show up to our calls together on time. They ask thoughtful questions. If I ask them for materials, they send it to me. It's just sort of a general respect. Too much communication is another one. If this person is texting you, sending you Slack messages, sending you emails to the point where it's disrupting your ability to run the rest of your business, that's a red flag. You're not an employee. And this one sounds sad, but some companies are beyond your help. Even when you do the best work you can possibly do, some companies are disorganized. Some companies have a toxic work culture. Some companies do not know how to work with freelancers effectively. And so I listen for clues, like if the client says on the call, well, we've hired 6 other writers and all of them have failed. My mind is going, yeah, the common denominator is you, not the writers, right? You may be beyond my help. That's kind of how I help screen things like that. So I'm listening for things like, do they trash their past freelancers? Do they trash their employees? Do they not seem open to working with me or paying a decent rate? There's the fired for other freelancers. Another one is if they don't trust your expertise. If you're a freelancer, you are being hired for your expertise. Yes, you're being hired to deliver a deliverable or log a certain number of hours, but there's always a component of freelancing that involves strategy. And so if I make a strategic suggestion to my client, like, I don't think we should run Facebook ads because I don't think that's going to be effective for you, and then they insist on doing it anyways, and it fails and it flops and they come back and blame me for that, that's kind of a sign that the client didn't trust my expertise. And I do try to document those kinds of things so I can go back and say, hey, I did actually recommend that we not do that. Or I did tell you that we needed to have blogs a certain number of words for them to rank on Google and things like that. So your clients should respect you. In the best case scenario, this is a beautiful thing. Your clients will say, well, what do you think I should do? And you get to bring that sort of creative and analytical side of your brain together and say, this is what I think. And if they go for it, you get to work on it. So it's extra work for you. And it's something that you really believe in that can really help the client too. So now let's talk about expansion as the last sort of section of what successful scaling freelancers do. Again, 1 to 5, same as before. 5 is this perfectly describes me. So I regularly look for ways to build in new income streams, especially those that require less work. Freelancing is a beautiful thing, but it is not your only way to earn money. And just like I said, don't have one client, don't have one marketing method, should never have just one stream of income either. So I used to be a teacher. I sell all of my old lesson plans on Teachers Pay Teachers. I've done that since 2014. It makes a couple $100 every month. It requires an hour's worth of work every 30 days. And I'm always looking for, can I record an audiobook version of my self-published book? How is that as an income stream? Can I develop printables and sell them on Etsy? What are things I can do to really diversify my income and protect my finances? So the second one, I spend at least a half day a month away from client work. And I think about the big picture of my business with no interruptions. So this is what I call a CEO day or a visioning day. And there's an exercise and a worksheet to help you do that inside Six-Figure Freelancer, the book. Because this is so important, a lot of times we get really bogged down in our work as freelancers and all we do is client work. And we forget to step back and say, hey, wait a minute. Am I happy with my business? Is this what I want my company to look like? Have I backburnered all of my other creative projects? And taking that half day, at least every single month, helps you press the pause button and figure out if there's things you need to change. And then finally, you should have either a paid business coach or mentor or some type of free mentor or mentorship community where you can regularly work on growing your business. So this could be like a really great local networking group or a Facebook group for freelancers where you ask questions or you have accountability challenges that you do with other people. The main purpose here is that it's beneficial to have something that is helping to propel you forward and helping you to think about your business and your next steps. So successful scaling freelancers know they can't do it alone. They recognize that even though they're a solopreneur, that maybe they need help from a coach, even if that's a one-time help. I've worked with coaching clients, and they'll come to me and say, hey, I need to hire a virtual assistant. It's all I need help with. Help me write the job description. Help me find the VA. Help me define the test projects. Or maybe they need more long-term help on working on growing their business. They may also decide to work with a team of freelance subcontractors. So I've worked with a team of 2 freelancers. Andrew has been on my team for 8 years now, and Melissa has been on my team for 2.5 years. They are crucial to helping me get everything done. They help with client projects. Andrew made this PowerPoint. I mean, they handle all of the back end details of my business so that I focus on what I do best. And there's a lot of things that I don't do very well. And so it's easy for me now to step back and go, okay, I don't need to spend 6 hours making a PowerPoint presentation. I can write the outline and give it to Andrew, and then I can pick it up and give it a final read through before I present it. So you should also have a good accountant, financial professionals, anyone else that you need in your business to run it. And you don't see it as an expense, even though a lot of these are tax deductible expenses. You see it as an investment. You're making an investment in yourself. And as a solopreneur, one of the best things you can bet on is you, because you show up every day, you do the work, you have the hunger and the motivation. And so you can tell when you need to make an investment. An investment I just recently made is outsourcing my bookkeeping. I mean, I've been doing my own accounting and bookkeeping for 10 years. And I was like, I can continue doing this. And then it was like, you know what? I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA. I shouldn't be doing my own bookkeeping. How about I take my business seriously and outsource this to someone who can send me profit and loss statements every month so that I can make the decisions on what I need to do with growing my business or hiring extra help or doing whatever I need to do but I don't need to be sitting in that seat. And so I see that definitely as an investment because my stuff's going to be more accurate. I'm going to feel more confident filing my taxes. And I'm also passing off the responsibility for something I'm not that great at or driven and excited to do anyways. So sticking to your zone of genius is important. What is it that you do well? In my business, it's two things. It's talking to clients to convert them or handle their project management, and it's delivering client work. Everything else, accounting, invoicing, even publishing some of my marketing stuff, just keeping things organized behind the scenes, filing contracts. That's not my zone of genius. So I need a system or I need a person to help me do those things so that I can spend the majority of my time in those two things that are my zone of genius that really are the flywheel on which the entire rest of my business runs. So successful freelancers also take responsibility for what they do. They don't blame their business on anything else. At the end of the day, and this is like a blessing and a curse, right? But our business falls on us. If I don't show up and do the marketing, there is no one to blame for the fact that I have no clients. If I miss deadlines, there is nobody else to blame but me for being irresponsible or taking on too much work or just not giving myself enough deadlines when talking to clients. So accepting responsibility for what you do is really important because it helps you expand your business. It helps you see those zones of genius, right? And it also helps you just be accountable to yourself and what you want your business to look like. Sometimes I talk to freelancers on coaching calls who say, I don't have any clients. Like I'm so frustrated. I need to have clients and I don't have them. So my question is, well, how much pitching are you doing? Tell me what your marketing method is. And it usually comes out that they're sending 2 pitches a week or spending an hour a week. And it's like, that's why you don't have clients, right? Like you have to be willing to put in the work that's going to come back as that ROI for you. And then you're always looking to see where you can improve and build a solid team around yourself, even if it's super small, even if your team is literally you and your CPA and one virtual assistant. You still can see that bigger picture. And then one of the things I love to do is I empower my team to tell me when things are not going well. So Melissa, my online business manager, has come to me in the past and says, I don't know why you're not letting me send your email newsletter. I can totally do it. I don't know why you're holding on to this. How do we get this off your plate? And to me, that's nice to have somebody check you and go, why am I doing that? Why have I put that on myself? And what systems can we build so I feel comfortable in offloading that? And then you love to surround yourself with other winners and stay as a lifelong learner. One of the challenges of freelancing is that it's changing all the time. Think about Facebook ads or podcast production managers. Those were jobs that didn't really exist 10 to 15 years ago. And now there's all kinds of new technology. There's new platforms. There's new things that people need help with all the time. So you have to continuously invest in yourself and also spend time with other people. This really helps if you have family members or friends who don't understand what you do. Sometimes it's just nice to be able to come to a group of other freelancers and say, I had a really bad experience with a client today. I just need to vent. Can someone tell me how to help? Or maybe you have a question about a contract amendment your client wants to throw in. It's really nice to have a group of people you can turn to who instantly get it. They understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and can be that sort of support system. You should also always be reading or learning from other experts. My favorite thing is to find people who are 2 or 3 steps ahead of me and learn from them. That way I can avoid some of the mistakes they might have made or mistakes that people might commonly make in that process. And I can also be in touch with someone who can help guide the way and cut through some of the time that it would usually take to hit that next milestone. All right, so let's quickly talk about some project management strategies for growing your business. We've talked about these a little bit, but turn down clients who have qualities that you don't like. Maybe it's just annoying. They don't pay well. Pay is difficult. Like they make you fill out a lengthy invoice to get paid for an hour's worth of work. They're erratic. They're happy one day and then the next day they're having an emotional breakdown. They're mean to you. They over communicate. It sounds weird that getting rid of clients is instrumental in helping you scale your business, but it really is the truth. I fired a lot of clients in the first year of my freelance business, and it paved the way to only work with people I liked. And it's not just the time that you lose working with these clients, they take your energy too. They're really energy vampires. If you have a client who's mean, it will show up in all kinds of ways. You'll dread talking to them. You'll procrastinate on their work. You'll get really like meek and nervous, even though you should be standing up and enforcing more boundaries with them. So just decide, what is it for you that you will not tolerate and that you don't like in clients, and figure out how to screen for that. If you have a lot of clients right now, I strongly recommend this exercise of listing all of your clients out and kind of giving them some scores on things like the money that they bring into your business. How do you feel about it energetically? Like, you don't have to get too deep with that one. Just go, how do I feel about this client? Am I excited to, talk to this client? Like, do I feel like when I spend time with them or I get revisions from them, it doesn't drain my energy? What's the quality of the relationship? If I've had a client for 5 years, 6 years, quality of the relationship is probably pretty good. How much do you enjoy the work? Is it painful? Can you do it, but you don't love it? That's important. And then after you've done this exercise, think about, is there anyone who's at the bottom of this list? Is there someone who isn't scoring well across the board in these categories, or who just jumps out to me immediately? I had a recent coaching call where the person who booked it listed all her clients and she named them A through H. And she was listing them for the purpose of asking me which one she should get rid of. And in the booking, she wrote, "It's obvious to me now that I've listed this out." She goes, "I need to get rid of client F," because she wrote like, they're really difficult to deal with and it's low paying and I don't like the way they treat me. And sometimes that's all it takes, is that self-reflection of saying, okay, I have too much work, or I'm just not super happy with my business. Let me figure out which piece of the puzzle isn't fitting here. So a couple of tips for you to manage your business as you scale: set monthly minimum amounts for projects to work on. That just means what we talked about earlier. What is it worth for you to take on a project, to take on a new client, even if you only work with them one time? This is one of my favorite tips. Try to cut down on administrative time and meeting time. My number one question when someone books a meeting for an hour is, do we need an hour? Can we cut this to 30 minutes? Because meetings can be really energetically draining, and they also keep you from doing other work. I also look for ways to cut down on the number of meetings. So if I see a client who needs some hand-holding, let's meet once a month. And I'm going to walk you through a strategic agenda of what I'm working on that month, what I need from you, when you can expect to hear from me. So they feel really supported and like their hands are being held. But that way I'm not doing a daily check-in call or meeting every Friday morning to provide them an update if that's just not necessary. Determine the number of hours that makes you feel really good about your business and the balance of clients that will get you there. So one of the things that was an eye-opener for me, from 2020 to mid-2021, I also worked a full-time remote marketing director role. And it wasn't until I installed this software called Rescue Time that I realized how many hours I was working. If you'd asked me, I would have said, 50, it's probably a lot because I'm doing my freelance business and this full-time job. But I tracked it for the first week and they sent me a report on Sunday that said I had worked 72 hours that week. And that was like key for me in understanding I can't continue with this schedule. I'm not happy doing it. I didn't realize I was working that much. What are all the things I'm giving up by working that much? So track your time. You may do that for your clients anyways, but stick to it, right? I'm looking still at that Rescue Time report over a year later every week. Is it under 30 hours? I'm really striving for 25, but is it under 30 hours every single week? Really helpful. Oops. Next tip is to get clients out of your email inbox. Clients who constantly check in over email can be really tedious because it's that administrative time that we don't really have. So try to get clients out of your email inbox. Tell them what to expect. Give them a place to go, a spreadsheet, a Trello board, a shared Google Doc, or just give them the dates in that kickoff call of like, hey, here's how this is going to work. Because you want to cut down on people sending you emails, checking in on projects, or sending you all kinds of different materials where it's hard for you to sort. So I love to do kickoff and onboarding calls because I'll tell them what's going to work for me. If it's a really big project, I'm going to tell them, here's the Google Drive location I've set up for us, or here's the Trello board I've set up for us to be effective with this project. And then if you do need some of that handholding for them to feel comfortable, set up those monthly or bi-weekly touch base or ask questions meetings. If you're doing a smaller project, of course, it may be something like weekly for 3 weeks or 6 weeks. I just finished a massive project for a startup that took 10 weeks, and we met every Monday and every Friday at the same time just to kind of discuss where things were at. And it, like I said, it kept that client out of my email inbox. It also gave me some good markers for when do I need to have questions developed, or if something came up in the editing process, I would write it on my list of the agenda for that next meeting. So it just keeps things organized, and it makes clients feel like you really know what you're doing. If you are overwhelmed by email, I recommend implementing a 48-hour response time to all emails and using an autoresponder. Occasionally, clients can just get overwhelming, and they just need to be kind of taught how to interact with you effectively. So I've done different variations of this kind of tip over the years. Sometimes I'll put my office hours in my email signature or in an autoresponder so that they know when they email me that they're not going to get an instant response. I will also sometimes use autoresponders that say, hey, if you've received this, I'm currently working on a client's project. I'll be back to you when I'm done. That lets them know they're not going to get an immediate response, and that I'm going to bring that same level of focus to their own projects. Okay, so I'm going to share with you in a minute here, it's right here. You can take that full Six-Figure Freelancer scorecard, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably the social media platform where I am the most active posting content. So feel free to connect with me there. And then the Six-Figure Freelancer scorecard is a Google Doc that will be view only. But if you click on file, make a copy, or file, download, something like that, you can fill it out for yourself. And I believe there's 6 questions in every section. So you went through 3 of them with me tonight per section, and you can fill out the whole thing and get a possible score of 30 in each section. And so then you can kind of go, ooh, income and finances or marketing or something like that is the area you need to focus on. So I'm going to check the chat. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. I'm happy to answer anything. Oh, thank you, Trisha. I'm glad this has been helpful for you. Anybody else have questions?
I was just going to say, Trish and I have been side texting about all of the great takeaways that we've gotten from this session. And I just really appreciate how you've shared all of this and just some of the tips, like staying in the zone of genius and having your kind of deal breakers, being able to see those red flags coming. It's all been really great for me. I'm just trying to kind of digest. I'm inspired to be a freelancer for freelancers right now. So thank you.
I love that. Anybody else have any questions? I'm happy to chat about anything we've talked about tonight, or if you have specific questions about growing your freelance business. I know there will probably be lots of replay watchers, so there's no problem if nobody has questions. But
Laura, I'm just going to be walking around grabbing people by their lapels and just imploring them to watch this video and to reach out with you. This has been so much fun, and I've just loved every second of it. And yeah, so thank you so much.
Good, cool. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I feel like we have a good freelance community here in Springfield to start with. I feel like more people are looking into this either as a side hustle or as a full-time career. So I'm excited to connect with other freelancers in the local area. So anybody who's watching live or on the replay, feel free to connect with me and reach out, because I love hearing how other people have set up their businesses. There's such diversity in why people choose to freelance and the way that they set it up. And I think that's why it's one of the best business models.
Well, thank you again. Thank you so much for your time tonight. This has been an excellent presentation, and we will post it to our YouTube channel and be sharing the feedback survey. And we're looking forward to, the next iteration of this, because I think that there's a need for it. So I just really appreciate your time tonight, Laura. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night then, everybody. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye, guys.